Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Just two of us this week, Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, ready to talk some record breaking stuff. And I'm not just talking about Judge, because we had the first player ever to play for both teams in the same game. Red Sox and former Blue Jays catcher Danny Jansen played for both teams in a game. It was rained out in the top of the second back in June 26th, pretty much 2 months to the day. And now that he's on the Red Sox, he's playing for the Red Sox. He was the batter of record at the plate when the game won out for the Blue Jays. So Danny Jansen at one point is also considered to have caught his own at bat. He did have a pinch hitter come in, but how cool is that he got to play for both teams in the same game and was the catcher of record for his own at bat?
I mean, that's really cool because a lot of the times as you hear the people talk about, what happens if a player gets traded to the other team they're playing, and it's
Yeah,
like, you know, you got to see it. Like, we got to see it. He didn't quit. So I mean, it's really good. The
it's
fact, and
very
also
cool.
the fact he got to catch his own at bat is even just crazier because that's something I don't even know if you'll ever see again.
It's going to be rare. Speaking of rare piece of memorabilia sold. You're familiar with George Herman Ruth, right? The
I
Babe.
am. I'm familiar. Familiar.
You know about his called shot?
I am familiar with that. Yeah, I know
So the
about it.
jersey he was wearing when he did the called shot game in that World Series versus the Cubs sold at auction. You want to take a guess at how much that jersey sold for?
So over or under 1 million.
Oh, I'm not going to even entertain that with the answer.
No.
Remember, we're talking record breaking stuff.
It had to go for at least, like, I wanna say somewhere between 1.5 million, 2 million.
You would be incorrect
No?
by a wide margin.
A wide margin. Maybe I'm just
You ready for the answer then?
Yeah.
It sold for a whopping $24.12 million.
I severely underestimated that. Severely.
So, record breaking stuff there. I wonder what piece of memorabilia. What do you think? What type of memorabilia do you think could surpass that?
The ball.
Yeah, but that's so impossible to
I
verify.
know, but how do they authenticate the jersey?
Because I think the Yankees probably kept it and they're able to verify it that way that he
I mean,
wore that game.
I've also heard some, like, murky stuff on, like, his called shot thing too.
Well, we don't know if
So
he actually
too.
called it or not.
Yes, but he did hit the home run though.
He did hit the home run.
So,
So,
I
what
mean,
piece of any sports, any type of sport memorabilia, do you think could sell for more than $24.12 million?
it's hard to say because, like, that's such an iconic thing through all of sports, and it's just like I'm trying to think of something that'd be more iconic, and it's like there's some stuff now, but a lot of obviously so long ago,
The
and
ball from Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game.
possibly, but I don't know. I maybe
Kurt
that'd probably get
Schilling's bloody
close.
sock, maybe.
I don't know about that. The Will Chamberlain ball is probably closer. I'm trying to think. I don't know if anything really beats it.
I
I
don't
mean,
either.
I don't really know.
But let's go on to another bit of weird baseball. We had Danny Jansen catching his own at bat, and now we have this Cubs at Marlins. Picture this. It is the bottom of the eighth inning. Runners on second and third. Jesus Sanchez at the plate. Cubs decide, you know what? Let's intentionally walk him, put the force back in play, right? So bases would be loaded. So that's what they do. They intentionally walk him. And as he's approaching first, the Marlins decide, hey, let's get a pinch runner in there, right? So out comes Christian Pache, your old friend,
Yeah.
running out of the dugout to first base. Next thing you know, Craig Counsell comes out, talks to the umpire. Pitcher steps off the mound, throws to first. Umpires meet, and then they call Christian Pache out. What do you think happened? Why is Christian Pache out?
Is he out because Jesus
It's not.
Sanchez didn't touch the bag first?
That's
And
absolutely
you can't have two play since because someone's already on the bag and he's on the bag.
so.
Yeah,
Because Sanchez never actually made it to first base before the pinch runner. He just didn't touch first base. He walked to the dugout. The runner was ruled out. So now you have some bookkeeping stuff that we still don't know the ramifications for. What do you score that? Does the pitcher get credited with a walk? Does Jesus Sanchez get credited with receiving a walk if he never actually made it to first base? So he never actually got to the base. So how can you record it, a
I
base
just
if you
feel
never
like
made it
it's so weird because it's like you gave him the base and it was kind of understood you gave him the base.
but you still need to touch just like a home run. If you don't touch every base on a home run, even though everybody knows and assumes you hit a home run, if you don't touch all the bags, you're out.
Yeah, I get that, but it's just like the fact, like you think like it would be kind of like a time thing because it's like in between pitches, in between batters, and it's like you don't
Unless
really do. You know what I'm saying though? You don't really
I
do
do, but
anything, and it's
again,
just and like you
time
think
can't
they
be
would just
called, but timeout can't be called until the play is over, and the play is not over until the runner gets to the bag.
I think this is just a weird thing because I almost feel like they should have just made it. They should have just said it's weird. I feel
By
like
rule
this is
book,
really semantics of the rules.
it
Like
is,
you're doing
but that's the
really
best type of way to interpret the rules. You
yeah.
don't need these semantics because all you had to do to avoid this whole
Just
situation,
go to first.
just go to first. Just
But
well, go to first. It's 90 feet.
I know, but then at this point, does this open stuff up then? Like when someone's running down and they kind of jog to it, can like can pitchers can you just throw the ball back to the pitcher and then have the pitcher fire it down the first?
No, because if
Is it
the
because he
runner's
left the field?
yeah, he left the field. He went to the dugout.
I know, but like I guess like does that
So like you
change the
can take
rule
your
anymore?
time going to first because you're awarded first base, but as long as you make it to first, you're cool. In this
I
scenario, though, he didn't go to first. He stopped about 80 feet down the way, and then the pinch runner came out to first base.
yeah, I get that, but it's
So the
like
actual guy that was awarded first base never actually went to first.
I know, but if the runner's going down the first, and it doesn't matter if he's like taking his time getting there, but he gets there eventually, then and if you pitcher through the first or catcher through the first while he's going down there, it's not considered an out by time. But if the batter leaves the play, is that like part of the rule where the batter leaves the play area, then you can
Yeah, the
throw to
batter,
first?
just like on a drop third strike, you're considered giving yourself up.
So is that what it was? Because I mean, like other than that, I mean,
So
like
it's a couple different things. It's
yeah,
partially that, partially you had a runner surpass the
surpass the things. Yeah,
so many different things, but they're also calling it the give up rule, I guess, where it's if let's say you get hit by a pitch and you refuse to take your base, the refusal rule means you're out. You're not allowed to refuse your base.
so it's just an interesting thing because it's like something that
Very,
probably should never happen because it's such a simple thing.
but it did. Now, just quick thing on O'Neal Cruz. Have you seen that he's looking to play center field?
I have not
Pirates are
seen
saying
it.
he has never played center field in the majors or minors, but now they're going to work him out in center field.
Is he fast enough to play center field?
O'Neal Cruz is pretty fast. I just don't know if he's able to play the outfield.
I I don't know because I think they probably want to get a better defensive shortstop in there.
IKF is right now going to be their shortstop when they
Yeah.
do that.
So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they're trying him at a different positions. But I don't know if center field's the way to go here.
Yeah,
I mean, you would think one of the corners would be easier.
You
Because
would
center
think.
field, you have to cover a lot of ground, and that's
I mean, he's a great player, probably got great instincts, and it's something he's going to have to learn. Um, let's see. Florida beat Taiwan in the Little League World Series. They beat them 2-1 in extra innings. On that, Florida decided to bunt
I
in order
saw
to
that.
get the
Yeah,
runner over. Taiwan picked the ball up, and there was nobody covering first base, so they threw it into right field, allowing the game tying and winning run to score. Or the game winning run, I should say, to score. Soto, Judge, Stanton. Three of them went back to back to back for the first time ever. And Judge now has 51 home runs. It is August 26th as we record this. He's on pace for 63. What do
I
you
feel like
think?
he hit. I feel like he could hit more than that.
I mean,
Honestly,
he typically like averages 10 plus home runs a month.
so I
We
mean,
still have another 5 days.
and the Yankees play a pretty easy schedule the rest of the season, if I'm not correct. Like they're not going up against like
I mean,
great.
they played Baltimore once to
That's
finish that.
once.
I mean, here they have 5 more games, including today, to finish out August.
And who are they playing today?
They have Washington and St. Louis to finish out the month. And after St. Louis, they play the Rangers, who are not very good.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Cubs, who are not very good. They play the Royals, who are fine.
Yeah.
They play the Red Sox. They play the Mariners, who have good pitching.
Yeah.
Oakland, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh.
I mean, there's a chance he can go a little over the projected, pace there.
Could he hit 67?
I think very well. I mean, I would say
Is 73 in reach?
I don't think anything. I don't. I feel like 70. You'd have to have. You'd have to have some kind of just monumental monster stretch there.
You don't think he can hit another 22 home runs
But not in this. Not.
in the next like 35 games?
I don't think so. I can see him get into like the high 60s. I don't
I
think
mean,
I
that
can
just
see
goes
him
to show
going.
how crazy Bonds was, right?
Yeah. I mean, Bonds was just generational talent with hitting.
So
Such a good hitter.
now that Judge has 51, I got a couple trivia questions for you. How many different members of the 50 homer club are there? Or I should say this, how many different 50 home run seasons have there been?
Just of all time. All time.
All time.
I want to say 30.
30, 50 home run seasons.
Yeah, total. That's like right with someone hitting 50 home runs. Like one person who's hitting 50 home runs in a season, right?
Yes.
I want to
You're saying
say. Actually, let me go. Let's say. Let's go 50. 50 50.
50-50.
50 50.
It is not 50-50. It is 49-50.
I was so. I'm mad. It'll be 50 50 after this season.
Yeah.
49-50. It's close.
Yeah, there have been 49, 50 home run seasons.
That's a lot.
So here's some trivia questions for you. Who had the first 50 home run season?
I want Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. Can
Ruth,
you give
right?
me a guess at a year?
I'm gonna embarrass myself here, big time. So I'm not even gonna.
Come on, give me a guess.
I have. I'm gonna be honest here, Corey. I don't even know what years he played.
That's rough. That's a tough look.
I told you I'm not. I know less about baseball overall than you guys.
1920, Babe Ruth hit 54 home runs.
So I was gonna say like a little later, probably closer to the 1930s.
Speaking of 1930, nobody other than Ruth was able to hit more than 50 home runs in a season until 1930 when Hack Wilson hit 56.
Which makes it all more impressive when you look at what Babe Ruth did because it was a dead ball era, and he did that in a dead ball era where no one else could do it. And I'm pretty sure back then, if you hit like you had guys hitting like maybe like 10 home runs, and they were
So
like,
when Babe Ruth started doing it, this is considered the live ball era.
when he started, did they change the ball, or was it the same?
The
Or
fencing and
just
stuff.
mm,
So, keeping with this trivia, which team has the most 50 home run seasons from its players?
I want to say Yankees, just
The
because
Yankees.
the Yankees have been good for so long.
How many different 50 home run seasons have the Yankees had?
I'll say at least 25.
So you're saying they've had more than half of the 50 home run seasons in baseball history.
I'm gonna say so. I feel like that's a fair guess, just considering how dominant they were for so long, and the fact that they would just kind of go out and buy the best players. I mean, for the longest time.
They had 11.
That's like that makes sense, but it's like yeah.
Now, can you name the only players to have had 50 or more home runs in a single season in the same season? So the only ones that have done it on the same team in the same season, I should say.
How many is there? Wait, ask again. Hold on, you confuse me.
So I'll reword it.
Yeah.
Who are the only players, the only teammates to have had a 50 home run season in the same year together, where both
Oh,
players had a 50 home run season while being on the same team?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't even have a clue.
The answer is Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris in 1961.
I never guessed it.
All
I
right,
could have went through like 30 players, and I never would have guessed that.
I'm going to keep embarrassing you then.
Please do.
How many different players, or let me make it easier on you. Judge is the fourth player to have hit 50 home runs in a season 3 or more times. Can you name the other 3 players to have hit 50 or more home runs 3 or more times?
Babe Ruth.
Babe
Babe
Ruth
Ruth.
is correct.
Um, I want to say Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds never hit more than 50 once. He hit 73 and
3.
then never hit 50
It
plus.
never hit. That's okay. Hmm. Let's see.
So you
Let me
just hit
think.
2 more.
2 more. Let's go with Mickey Mantle, I guess.
It is not Mickey Mantle.
No. Hmm. Thinking. Ryan Howard.
It is not Ryan
Ryan
Howard.
Howard. No. I'm trying to think of like Pujols.
Nope, not Albert Pujols.
Nope.
Albert Pujols, you know how many 50 home run seasons he's had?
Probably. You had to have at least one.
Pujols never had a 50 home run season.
You got to get close then.
I'm sure he did. I don't see any
Yeah.
50 home run game seasons.
You just think with all the home runs he's hit, like you're thinking he had to have like one crazy good season somewhere.
So the answers are Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire.
I was gonna get to Mark, but I should have said Mark McGuire.
So let me give
Yeah.
you 2 more easy ones and then we'll call it at the end of trivia.
Yeah.
Who is the most recent Philly to have 50 or more home runs?
Right. Bryce Harper had to have.
Bryce Harper never hit 50
He-
home runs in a season.
Well, then it has to be Ryan Howard then.
Ryan Howard, any guesses on
Yeah.
how many home runs he hit in 2006?
Oh man. Uh, 57.
58.
I'm like off by one on so many things tonight.
And can you name how many Phillies in history have had a 50 or more home run season?
Let me think. Well, you know Howard had one. I want to say at least two. Did Mike
Yeah,
Schmidt had one? I think Mike Schmidt probably had a 50 home run season.
you would be incorrect.
No,
Mike Schmidt never had 50 or more home runs.
no.
So the answer is one season. Ryan Howard
One
did it
season.
once, and he was the only Philly to ever have 50 or more home runs in a season.
That's crazy. I guess the Phillies never really had a lot of power bats on their teams.
You say this as they have Kyle Schwarber and
Yeah,
Bryce Harper,
but they haven't hit 50.
and Judge has 51, and it's August.
Yeah. See, but my point is, like, they have the guys, but it's like
And Judge is hitting 333. His
that's
OPS is
crazy.
1.2.
That's crazy.
But let's go on to our studs and duds. I can make Aaron Judge my stud, but I wouldn't because he's so much more than that. So I'm going to go Jhonkensy Noel. Jhonkensy Noel, Cleveland outfielder, in 6 games, 23 at-bats. He had 8 hits, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, struck out 6 times, walked 3 times, but he's hitting 348 with a 1.249 OPS over the last week. While my dud would be his teammate, Mr. Rock the Baby himself, Josh Naylor, first baseman for Cleveland, 7 games, 25 at-bats, 2 hits, one of them being a home run for 3 RBIs. He's walked 5 times, struck out 3 times. He's hitting 080 with a 433 OPS. Rough week for Naylor.
Man. So, instead of doing like another Philly for this week's stud, I'm gonna do Spencer Steer. Give him some love. He went 7 for 24, 1 home run, 7 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 5 walks. So I mean, and he's been doing this almost all season. Like he's been pretty solid for the Reds. So, he deserves some recognition. Also, just a special mention for Jerkson Profar for hitting a 2-run homer to put the Padres up over the Mets the other night. Just thought I, put that out there. And then my dud this week is Walker Bueller. He pitched 4 innings, gave 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, and he now has a 6.09 ERA with a 1.67 WHIP. And I think he doesn't seem like he's very. He might lose his starting rotation job and end up in the bullpen for the postseason here. Like I don't know. He just didn't come off the injury great.
No,
And it's part of the reason why the Dodgers, I think, have been kind of struggling up and down this season.
definitely seems like it could be part of it.
Yeah, it's just the pitching.
All right, now it is time for your favorite segment, Pauline's Prospect Powwow.
So last week we did the NL West first round prospects, like picks that they had. So this week, any guess this week what we're gonna do, Corey?
All right.
We're gonna do the AL West. So I'll give you a little bit more of a hint this week, AL West. First guy we're gonna talk about is Walker Janik.
I'm guessing which team?
Which team? Which team? So
What division was this?
AL West.
AL West, Walker. That
Janik.
sounds like a Ranger.
Ooh, you got the right state, wrong team.
Man, he's an Astro.
He's a Houston Astro.
Ooh,
He was
cheater already.
he was ranked 24th in the draft. He's a catcher, bats right, 6 foot, 21. He's 21 year old.
Bust.
21 year
It's a
old.
bust.
ETA is 2027, and he was drafted 28th overall in the first round out of Sam Houston. So he didn't draw a lot of interest from pro teams and or major college programs in high school, but He developed into one of the best catching prospects after 3 years at Sam Houston. His stock surged in 2023 during the Carbach Classic, where he went 5 for 13 with a pair of doubles. So I mean, he's been impressed. He's been more impressive in the Cape Cod League this summer. He has good bat speed, good strength, has plus raw power. So he's an aggressive right-handed hitter who looks to launch balls and frequently chases pitches out of the strike zone. But he's showing more patience and stuff and doing better of it. Doing better every year. So, and he was Conference's USA's 2024 Defensive Player of the Year. So when he's agile behind the plate, does a nice job framing pitches, and can get lackadaisical with his receiving, which
Nobody
Greg
wants to be a
really
lazy
had.
catcher.
That's a word.
Nobody wants a lazy catcher.
No. With his receiving, which grades as merely average until he cleans it up. So he controls a running game with his plus arm strength and quick release. So do you think he's a bust, Corey?
Yes, he's benefited from trash cans. I'm kidding.
He wasn't there for that. So next up, though, we got Malcolm Moore.
Malcolm Moore sounds like a Mariner.
This guy, this would be the Ranger.
Damn.
This would be the Rangers. He's another catcher, by the way. This is another catcher. The Texas teams went for catchers this year. He was a 26th ranked player in the draft. Bats left, 6'2", 21 years old, ETAs 2027. He was drafted 30th in the first round out of Stanford. So and he was one of the best high school hitters in the 2022 draft class. He was a left-handed hitting catcher. Drew some comparisons to 2020 first rounder pick Tyler Soderstrom, and I believe Soderstrom plays for the Athletics now, and I think he does pretty okay now. And he's the highest ranked hitter on MLB's Pipelines Draft Top 250. Not to sign. So he went to Stanford instead of signing out of high school, which I think a lot of players are doing now. They're opting to go to. You have a lot more players opting to go to college first. So, and he had a tremendous first half of his freshman year before fading a bit in conference play, and a solid fall. Fall had scouts excited to see what he can do. So there's still confidence he will hit at the next level, but he makes a lot of hard contact, all fields, and easily plus raw power. He showed he can tap into with 15 home runs as a freshman. He's shown he can have an advanced approach at the plate. While his surface numbers were down for much of his sophomore season, he still had elite chase rates and swing and miss rates in the zone. So it sounds like even though his numbers were down, he still has the tools there to hit at the next level. But I would say that's kind of concerning.
Right.
So, and teams think he can be an average catcher and could easily be considered a top 10 pick, but scouts aren't quite convinced of his glove as they are on his bat. He's not a bad receiver and moves decently enough, with some scouts seeing improvement behind the dish this spring.
Lackadaisical.
Another one. He has flashes an average arm, but it's often more fringy, though some of that can be cleaned up with improved footwork. So it just seems like he's going to be there more for the offense potential than his defense. I don't know.
That's always fun, though. You always want to have a deeper lineup. As the Yankees catcher just hits a home run, Austin Wells.
Maybe that's why you go for the
All
more
about the
offensive
power. Teach
catchers.
defense later. That's what they did with Wells, and now he's better than Adley Rutschman.
Next one up, we got Nick Kurtz.
Nick Kurtz
with a K.
With a K.
Kurtz.
So he could be a Mariner. He could be an Oakland A. Or he could be a mystery fifth team that doesn't like to make the playoffs with generational talents. Which one could it be? I'm going to say he's a Oakland A.
He is an Oakland A. You got one correct.
Except they won't be in Oakland when he makes his debut.
He will not be. But he was ranked 7th in the draft. And he's a first baseman, 6'5", bats left, 21 ETA 2026. and he was drafted 4th overall in the first round out of Wake Forest.
Wow.
So, and he was originally recruited as a left-handed pitcher, but over the course of winning consecutive Tennessee Division II 2A state baseball championships at his high school, he emerged as a superior prospect as a hitter after slashing 344, 498, and 695 with 39 homers in his first 2 college seasons. So, I mean, at that point, I think you just focus on hitting.
Yeah, you got to
So,
focus. That's hitting's what gets you paid.
it is. It is. He got off to a slow start, missed 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. Then he went on a rampage shortly after return and homered 14 times in 9 games, including 6 blasts and 7 at bats. And he also topped NCAA's Division One with 78 walks. In the 2024 college season, and he has a well above average power to all fields, outstanding bat speed, strength, and left-handed stroke. Designed to drive balls in the air more than just a slugger. He's a complete hitter with no discernible weakness, and he can hit lefties and righties. I mean, his prospect page is making him sound like he's just like he's almost like he should be up playing for them now with this.
You're right. It really does.
And on top of this, it says he plays quality first base, has average arm strength. The only blemishes on his game are his below average speed, which doesn't really matter since he's playing first base. So, but he has an injury history that included a broken rib that knocked him out at the end of the 2023 College World Series.
That's rough.
So, if he's as good as scouts believe he could turn into Jim Thome with defensive value. So, I mean, they're hyping him up.
They are hyping him up.
I don't know.
Who's
Maybe
next?
this is when the A's turning around.
I
Next,
doubt.
we got Christian Moore.
Any relation?
I'm
kidding.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think him and Malcolm Moore are related.
I don't think so. No.
Christian Moore sounds like an angel.
You correct again. Christian Moore is an angel.
Look at that. I'm going to come away with more right than wrong this week.
You are. So you do good when it's just you do good without everyone else here.
Yeah, I do good without the pressure.
Yeah. But he was ranked 13th overall in the draft. He plays second base, 6'1", bats right. He's 21 years old. ETA is 2025. So he's so far estimated to be up playing in the majors way earlier than all the other guys we've talked about already prior. And he was drafted 8th overall out of Tennessee. So, and it says his prospect page says he was a Connecticut prep school product. He posted a 1.062 OPS as a semi-regular at Tennessee as a freshman, and encored with a 1.04 OPS next spring. He was leading this spring. He was leading NCAA Division I with 111 hits, ranking 3rd with 34 homers, a school record, and setting another Volunteers mark with 61 career home runs. And he hit for the cycle in Tennessee's College World Series opener and led off the clincher with a home run en route to the program's first national championship. So he already has a pretty good resume there. He has an aggressive approach at the plate, good bat speed and strength. He gives him a lot of power to all fields and has like 25 to 30 homer potential. Works deep counts in search of pitches to drive and draws a healthy amount of walks. He still chases too many pitches out of the zone, but he's making more consistent contact in 2024.
You can learn away from that, though.
A lot of this stuff, like a lot of that, you can, with them chasing stuff a lot and the approach to the plate, like you can definitely like coach that up and change their approach and get them a better approach at it. But it's a lot easier when it's like already there and it kind of comes natural to them. So he has below average run times out of the batter box. He can show solid speed once he gets going and looks to steal and take extra bases. He can make some fine plays in middle infield, but also can botched some routine ones and needs more defensive consistency. He played briefly at a shortstop at shortstop this year, but his average arm strength means he's probably more of a second baseman, and it's possible that he can wind up in center field. Another infield guy they're turning center field.
Seems to be the way of the world. Maybe they'll put Judge at shortstop. Right the ship.
Did they ever go back and forth? Do you ever see center fielders becoming shortstops or second basemen?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like I feel like you don't see the move from outfield to infield more. So you see
I mean, you see
infield
Mookie
out.
Betts go from infield to outfield to infield.
Yeah, but he started off at infield.
He kind of started off with the ability to play both, I guess.
So I mean, I'm talking about like guys going from starting off in outfield and then moving to an infield position, because usually you would say infield requires more defensive. You have to be a better fielder to play the infield.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I don't know.
So I'm just
Even
wondering.
Kyle Schwarber started off as a catcher.
Yeah, I feel like people forget about that, and then
You know who else started off as a catcher? Josh Donaldson.
I think a lot of these guys started off as catchers, the power guys.
Tom Brady drafted by the Expos as a catcher.
That's crazy too. Now this next guy,
IKF started off as a catcher.
so what dude? How many people started off as catchers? Now this next guy here, I don't know. I'm hopefully I can pronounce his name right. He has it's a name here. I'm gonna try it. Gerangelo Senche.
Spell Senche.
Cijntje.
CIJA.
JN, my N. CIJNTGJE. Oh my god. I'm screwing myself up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take an attempt.
Gerangelo Senche. I had to look up a video of them pronounce his name so I knew how to say it.
Tell me about Gerangelo.
Well, as you guessed, he's a Mariner. Last team left. It's a
3
Mariner.
out of 5. I consider that a good day.
That's a win.
That's a good day at the plate for me.
Not bad at all. He's ranked 25th in this year's draft, 21, 5'11. Now, this is the interesting part here with him. He's a right-handed and left-handed pitcher at his position. So he pitches both lefty and righty. And he bats switch. His ETA is 2027, and he was drafted the first round, 15th overall out of Mississippi State. Now, he's a natural left-hander, and because he wanted to emulate his father, Michelangelo, who played professionally in the Netherlands, he liked wearing his dad gloves, so he...
What was his father's name?
Michelangelo? I think Michelangelo. Yeah, Michelangelo.
Like the Ninja Turtle?
I believe so. And he played baseball professionally in the Netherlands.
Interesting.
And because he wanted to, imitate his father there, he started pitching with I think his other hand. He got both. So
you're saying that he's not a lackadaisical catcher, this guy?
It doesn't sound like it.
Sounds like he puts in hard work.
So, and he gained notoriety for his switch pitching as a member of Caraco's team at the 2016 Little League World Series, and clubs considered him a mid-round prospect in the 2022 draft, where he signability dropped into the Brewers in the 18th round. He has bounced back from a rough freshman season at Mississippi State and to become one of the top sophomore eligibles in this year's crop. So evaluators say he has better stuff and projects as a Marcus Stroman-esque starter as a righty versus profiling more as a reliever as a lefty. So
it's a pretty good career.
Not bad. And then it says from the right side, he operates with a 94 to 96 fastball that tops out at 98. And he backs it up with a mid-80s slider that can go up to 91 and a slightly harder changeup with fade. As a southpaw, he works from a low slot with a sweepier low 80s breaking ball and a low 90s heater that doesn't miss many bats. So He's pitching right-handed against lefty hitters more often in 2024, and many scouts would like to see him do so full time. So his 5'11" build creates questions about his long-term durability as a starter. He's strong and athletic. He has significantly improved his strike throwing as a sophomore and could develop action control as he gains more experience.
You think that they should do something like this where, let's say he's a righty starter and he pitches, let's say, 6 innings, and then he switches for the 7th inning as a lefty, as a reliever. On the days he doesn't start, he goes to the bullpen and he's only a lefty reliever, saving that right arm so he can still do his bullpen days and stretch it out so he doesn't hurt himself. But he uses both. He's a starter and a reliever.
I mean,
Is that the way we're going with some of these ambidextrous pitchers? Instead of, switching for righties and lefties,
yeah, instead of like, yeah,
focus as a right-handed starter and as a left-handed reliever.
I feel like that, right? Because you wouldn't have to worry about rest because you're not using you're using the other arm. So, I mean, I can see that. I don't know if a team's tried that yet.
I mean,
I
how many
mean,
pitchers can throw both arms? I mean, there was Pat Vendette. That was like the last one that I could really remember that did it in the majors.
so what you got to do, Corey, is what I'm thinking is you got to call up the Mariners, front office here. Tell them that, in the minors, tell them to try it out. Because honestly, I like the
I'll ring them
idea
up.
of it. I
I'll
like
ring
the
them up.
idea.
Maybe I'll replace Scott Servais, who got fired the other day.
So I like the idea of it, but you worry about just durability stuff if that's going to cause more injuries over time. But it's like you won't know until you do it,
Right, you won't know.
and that can be huge, like huge.
Roster construction wise,
Yeah, because that's like having like a free extra reliever.
just like with Ohtani as a pitcher.
Yeah, so it's like having like a free
What's
extra.
more impressive, being
Yeah,
able to be a starter and a reliever, or being a starter and a designated hitter?
I think it's impressive to be almost. I think because I mean, there's been a lot of people in the past who were really good hitters and also really good pitchers. I mean, Babe Ruth was a pitcher, but his bat was so good. They moved them out, to the outfield there at the plate because they wanted his bat every day.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's not. I feel like it's more. I feel like it's more common than you would think. You know, it's just what happens is a lot
and
of
the ability to
people.
throw with both arms to play into that.
You have a guy who's a two-way player, plus can pitch
Yeah,
with left or right.
just saying. But let's go on to our weekly series highlight. For me, I'm doing Cleveland hosting Kansas City. In that division, it's not as tight as it once was, but it's still something that should be monitored. Kansas City is 2 games back at Cleveland. Kansas City kind of hanging in there. Minnesota now a half game back of them, so 2.5 back in third place of Cleveland. So that division could change hands if Kansas City sweeps Cleveland. So that's a really big series. These are two teams who, should be playing in October. You'll have the MVP runner-up in Bobby Witt Jr. playing in that series. I think it's a really good test to show what these teams could do against a playoff team because we saw Kansas City, they played well. We saw Cleveland play against the Yankees. They kind of faltered, should have got swept, eked one out in the 12th inning, I believe it was, against the Yankees by, going ham on that bad bullpen. So Cleveland needs these games. Kansas City needs these games, and it's a nice, fun division matchup.
I'm gonna go with some, interleague play here with the Orioles at the Dodgers. I mean, you have the Orioles a game and a half behind the Yankees right now, and you have the Dodgers here losing some. Where the Diamondbacks starting to creep up on them now. And Diamondbacks are only 3 games back, and Padres only 4.5 there. So they're Dodgers really can't afford to lose much more, because these other teams like Diamondbacks and Padres are
Right.
starting to heat up and play better. I mean, I feel like the Diamondbacks have been on a roll the past couple weeks and stuff, and the
Diamondbacks have been
Padres.
pretty great. They're 7-3 in their last 10.
I mean, yeah, and then the Dodgers, I don't think have been that great. I mean,
They're 7-3 in their last 10 too. The Dodgers.
yeah, but I feel like they are, but I feel like it's just you almost feel like the Dodgers have just been like not as good as they should be, or they feel a little worse. They feel a little worse than they're actually like how like they're playing good, but they feel worse than they actually are playing. If that
Right.
makes sense. Like they're playing good, but they feel worse than
I hear
It's
you.
kind of contradictory there. But I mean, you have them there, and then you have the Orioles in a close race there with the Yankees. So and so I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a lot of
this
divisions. Like here, the Dodgers are 3 up on Arizona, 4.5 up on San Diego. Milwaukee's 10 up on St. Louis. I think it's almost fair to say Milwaukee's won that division.
yeah,
If I'm Philly, am I confident? 6 up on the Braves and 8.5 up on the Mets.
I don't think the Mets are gonna take the division at all. But I mean, possibly the Braves.
Houston is 4.5
Mm,
up on Seattle. Cleveland is 2 up on Kansas City, 2.5 up on Minnesota. I mean, the Yankees are 1.5 up on Baltimore.
I mean,
If you look even in the playoff race, you have the Red Sox, who are 5 out of the wild card, behind Minnesota, Kansas City, and Baltimore. And then the NL, where it's a little closer, you have the Mets 2.5 out of a wild card spot, with San Fran, St. Louis at 5, and the Cubs at 5.5. So you see some separation in these races, but they're still pretty tight at some parts.
I think it's gonna be like last year, where I feel like you're gonna get like one division where the first place winner is going to be really close, and then you're going to have a bunch of people fighting for that last
Right.
wild card spot.
Well, that's going to do it for us. It's going to be the end of this week's Outsider Sports Baseball podcast. Next time we talk, it'll be September. September baseball, final month of the regular season. We'll be gearing up for the playoffs. A couple more
Y-
weeks left. How many home runs does Judge hit? Who wins the AL East? Who wins the AL Central? Who's going to be best positioned going into the playoffs at the World Series?
That's up for debate too.
That's up for the debate. I
That
don't
really
think
up to for
any
debate.
great team. But we'll talk about this more. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, signing off.